Welcome. Whoa. Hold on. Welcome to the Divorce Dad Playbook podcast. You have a pocket square on? What is happening?
An episode prior, you challenged me that I was dressing up in my pajamas. So I decided to actually not only dress up like I normally would, but add a little bit of color and flair to today's event. So there
I
we go.
am just so we, for people who aren't maybe watching, and again, you can watch it on our site and on our YouTube. I'm Dan Levy. He's Scott Levy. I'm wearing the
Nice.
custom-made
Just the way I like it.
Bad Things Happen in Philadelphia shirt.
Non-political. Great.
Hey, can I say, very political. However, we put these out on Instagram. We put these out. Zoe and I put these out everywhere on social. And she's got a sticker company and everything. And we thought we'd sell like 2 or 3, donate the money, whatever. We ended up selling like 20, 30 shirts in like 10 minutes. And so we donated $309 yesterday to Women Against Abuse in Philadelphia. So
that's amazing. I'm very proud of Zoe.
Thank you. By proxy. I'm glad you dressed up because our theme song today, it's good. I would look inappropriate and you would look more appropriate because...
Oh, yeah.
We are talking about court. I wasn't sure if I should go with that one or would you rather have had this one? Do you know what this is from?
Is it from Night Court?
This is the best. This is, without question, the best television theme song of all time.
I think the first one was more appropriate, but that's okay.
More appropriate? All right, well.
I mean, I guess. I don't know. It's like they had so many foolish people coming through Night Court. Wow, it's a super boomer moment that we're talking about Night Court.
First of all, it's like one of those hipster shows. I'm sure it's back. I'm sure. Anyway.
I haven't seen it since the 80s.
I watch a lot more television than you.
Yes.
I think we've established that, Scott.
Yes.
I want to get to a couple of things. We'll have some fun at the end. And you will laugh at the fun that we will have. But there's something that serious happened this week to me, and I don't know how to handle this. So we're going to shelve that for a little bit because I want to talk about this. The kids said to me the other day, I had the kids this weekend, and they said to me the other day, we asked Mom if she was going to listen to the podcast, and she said no, but if you talk about her or say her name, she's going to sue you. And I said, I'm pretty sure she's joking. And they said, oh, no, she's not. She's going to sue you. And they thought she was serious. I ended up texting her later and I'm like, can you not tell the kids you're going to sue me? And I was like, because they think you're serious. She's like, I clearly wasn't serious. But, she said they were pressing that you were going to talk about me all the time. I was like, of course I'm going to talk about you. It's a divorced dad podcast. I'm not going to mention your name. I'm not going to, shit on you. I didn't say that in the text, but like, of course we're going to talk about our marriages and our exes and our kids. Well, what happened, to be serious for 1 second, is because she told them that she was going to sue me, now the kids are pissed off that I'm talking about them. Max said, and I quote, I'm going to sue your ass if you talk to me. That's a good 10-year-old comment. And Zoe said, you don't have my consent to talk about me, to which I had to remind them, you are 13 years old. You don't have consent. I am your parent. I get to choose what your consent is right now, and I consent to talk about you.
Is this a state of the state in terms of people saying that they want to be litigious? Because I can say is that I'd say every other night that I put Luke to bed, we have a passionate discussion where it ends with, Daddy, I'm going to sue you, or I'm just going to get you arrested and put you in jail. I'm going to take all of your money. That's what he says to me. I was like, well, it's interesting that you're going to take all of my money when I go to jail because I won't be able to make any more money if I'm in jail. Therefore, you're going to get not much.
See, they're used to playing Monopoly where you can still collect rent even if you're in jail. That's not the real world, kids. That's not the real world.
Not the real world. But yes, he actually tells me many times a week that he's going to sue me for everything I've got. He said mental abuse.
Well, that, watch out for that, because if you don't
I
give him your
mean,
money, he might go even more. He might stab you or something. You might rather get
I
sued.
mean,
So,
it's he's obviously 15, but he some of those things come out as a little immature, and that's funny. I don't think anyone's gonna be suing us for what we're talking about here. It's quite interesting, educational, somewhat generic, and I think
well,
we'll be
look, I
okay.
mean, I'll
But
be
yeah,
honest. My ex is not in the public spotlight. We had a conversation about that a couple months back, actually, where we were talking about some of the issues that I have, and borderline personality is one of them, and that's essentially, to me, it manifested in every single job I've ever had has been in the public eye. Even if you don't know it was me, my work has been judged constantly from the time I was in my early 20s. So for 20 something years, everything I've done is on display, and it screws with your head. And her response was, well, my stuff is very public too. I said, you're a professor, you're a college professor. There's like 14 people in front of you when you're talking. I've written articles that 700,000 people have read, and they all think I'm an idiot. I mean, it's a little different. So it's funny how I guess in some way she thinks she is a public figure working for, a university. And so I'm a little nervous that if we say stupid things, I might get. I need to keep this as to my feelings, right, and not skew facts.
yes. No offense. What is she suing you for? For
Well,
that?
that's
For
what I
that?
tried to explain to the
For
kids.
for that little
T-shirt
plant in the
money.
background?
Woo!
Right? All 20 tears that have already been donated by Zoe. So yeah, I think that I think you're all right.
$309 because we paid for the expenses. I think that's actually a pretty good deal for something stupid. I think that's like an awesome turnaround in like 2 days.
Like I said, I'm very proud of Zoe. I think that
But it wasn't
we
just
we can
adulate me.
keep.
It wasn't just her.
Wait, what's up with your hand?
Oh, this was going to be what we talk about later. But now that you
Oh,
called it,
well,
I
I saw it,
sprained.
dude. Why do you have an ace
I
bandage on your hand?
I believe
This is bringing me way back. This is bringing me way back to the times when we were kids and used to like have ace bandages on like your ankle or your hand for some reason.
yeah. Well, I played soccer for a long time and stuff gets hurt. But this, I
Yes.
believe, my thumb, like the outside of my thumb, was sore last night, and then this morning I woke up and it hurt a lot. So I'm just trying to immobilize my thumb here. I believe I've gotten swipe thumb. Real thing. Real
Is
thing.
that a who said that's a real thing?
I just did.
You
It's
have
a real thing.
you have arthritis because you swipe too much on dating
It's not
sites.
arthritis. I think it's more like a carpal tunnel situation because I'm
Oh,
going like
you
I'm
pull
swiping.
you've overextended your thumb tendon by swiping.
I've pulled a thumb.
Now is that the if you're doing it, is it the left swiping out, or are you sore because you're swiping too much to the right? Because that's
So
where
I'm
you're actually extending the tendon, I believe.
okay. And this has nothing to do with what I wanted to talk about, but we're here. So let's go. You just showed your left hand. And I am, if people are watching, you could see it's my right hand that is the one that has this little injury, but I'm left-handed and you're right-handed. So is that something that everyone does? Because I usually keep my phone in my right hand. So my left hand, my dominant hand, is free. So do we swipe with our opposite hand?
Huh. I haven't swiped in a while, but well, I actually hold my phone
Yeah.
with my opposite hand, and then I guess I do. Yeah.
So you
I don't
wipe and you
know.
swipe with different hands.
I mean, we should throw out a poll. We should see what people are doing.
Let's throw
I
out a
think
poll.
that
We'll actually put a poll on the site at some point. But for now, just be anecdotal. Dan at divorcedadplaybook.com. Scott is Scott at divorcedadplaybook.com. Which hand, and if you've never thought of this, you're welcome. I'm sorry for ruining this for you. Which hand do you swipe with? And do you swipe and wipe with the same hand? Because I wouldn't. Just a point of fact. I think it's probably better to
wait,
not.
you say swipe and wipe?
Yeah, opposite hands.
I don't wipe with my left hand.
That's what I'm saying. You would swipe and wipe with opposite
No.
hands, so there's not as much cross
What does
contamination
wipe?
later
What
in the
does
day.
wipe? What does wipe mean?
Like when you have to go to the bathroom, like you usually use your
Oh, you are
dominant
talking
hand.
about going to the bathroom. I don't know how we
Yeah,
got from swiping to wiping. Okay, just because
well,
it
it rhymes, and you use hands. I mean, what?
Okay,
How is that not in your?
it just wasn't. But my mind rarely thinks like yours. So
Rarely. I don't think your mind ever
potentially.
sounds. All right. Can we get back to the beginning?
Yes.
We'll talk more about this hand thing in a little bit.
Yeah. I
wanna get back
I
to
couldn't help myself.
Anyway, the reason I wanted to bring this up is not because my ex-wife is threatening to sue me, which, like I said to the kids, and we go ahead. It's all her money anyway. Like all that would happen in this case, and this is where I want to turn it into an actually serious thing, but for me, I'll joke a minute. All that would happen is if my ex sues me, it just hurts the kids, right? Because she's going to take my money that I am spending on the kids and use it as her money. Then I have less money to spend on the kids. That seems pretty logical. The kids did not buy that. They're like, you have other money. You'll just use your other. Well, not if she sues me for everything I've got.
Right. Yeah. So aside from your situation, which I seriously doubt that there's going to be a lawsuit coming,
Correct.
I do think this is a problem, and I've talked to a lot of people about this in terms of once you go through the initial divorce, and I do think we probably need to get one of our experts on the show at some point to really talk about this. One of the
Yes.
many attorneys that we have that we use for content. But I will say from my
And
experience
lawsuits.
and hopefully not lawsuits, but yes, I will say from my experience and being out here for as long as I have, that one of the worst ideas you could do is return to court after your initial divorce. And I understand that there are sometimes things that are completely out of your control and you need the courts to decide if you have such a terrible relationship with your ex that you may need to go back to court. But from what I've been told, if there's ever something in your agreement that needs to be changed, it's going to cost you way more money to actually go back to court and change it than it would be just to write it out and
Okay.
to figure it out with your ex.
I have heard the exact same thing. Having said that, you and I have relatively, concerning relationships with our exes, relatively good relationships to this point where you can have that conversation. You may disagree, you may fight, it may be ugly for a little bit, but ultimately you both have your kids' best interests in mind. And certainly my ex and I both have our kids' best interests in mind. But what happens when there are situations, and this is why I bring this up to turn it serious, that someone who I'm pretty close with is having a lot of issues with her ex. And it's amazing to me, and I'm wondering if my ex says this to other people, how many people I've met online who say without pause their ex is a narcissist. And
Mm,
I've always been nervous about that because I've been accused of that certainly in my life. And I think that some of the actual diagnoses that I have are very similar to narcissism and maybe overlap. I'm just maybe excusing it by calling it something else. But at least I'm aware of that. And I think a lot of people, from what I've been told, are not, or I will quote someone, it's impossible to co-parent with a narcissist. And so the word impossible is where I want to go on this because I have tried to make plans with this person several times. And I feel bad even asking because they have no idea when their ex is going to show up. He's supposed to show up at 2:00. Sometimes he doesn't show up until 10. No phone call, no anything. All that's doing is making the kid sit around for 8 hours and wait for her dad. And now the mom has to be both parents. So
right.
it's not sometimes, Scott, as easy as just let's work it out. What do you do in that situation?
Yeah, I mean, we talk about this a lot in terms of making sure that the kids come first. And I get it. Look, first and foremost, there's a big difference between being a narcissist and showing narcissistic behavior. Number one, that's for sure. Number two is, look, I get it. You know, divorce happens not because you guys are getting along. Like there's something broken, and sometimes there's something small broken, sometimes there's something major broken. I still feel as though that hopefully we can help people through the playbook and the podcast and everything that we're
Sure.
doing to open up the lines of communication. I believe no matter how much of a prick he might be or how much of a bitch you may be, that if you can put your differences aside for the kid or kids, you have to be able to figure it out. You have to be able to figure it out. And I'm not saying I don't know who you're talking about. I'm not saying it's her fault at all. I'm saying that she
Right.
needs to try and push more outside of that time. Like maybe when he has their child, when maybe he's feeling a little more fatherly, and you have that conversation, say, look, I just want to open up the lines of communication so that our kid doesn't suffer. I understand you don't like me, I don't like you. That's why we got a divorce, but our kids shouldn't suffer. Our kids shouldn't be left behind. And that's what's happening. And it may cause a
I
rough argument. It may cause a lot of issues, but we have to get our world to communicate. And I say our world, meaning the world of single parents and divorced people. We have to get them to a point where they can communicate for the kids.
this is a perfect opportunity for us to open it up to the audience. Obviously not immediately, but again, Scott at divorcedadplaybook.com is you. I'm Dan at divorcedadplaybook.com. And I, this is one of those things where I want to call you an idiot. Often you call me an idiot on this. I don't want to call you an idiot because what you're saying is dumb. I want to call you an idiot because what you're saying feels narrow, feels very safe in the pocket that you've been in for the last 8 years and people have been in. And I'm not sure how many people you sort of dance in a different tax bracket than I do, and so I think a lot of
It doesn't have anything to do with money.
it it
It
certainly
doesn't.
does when people
It
are
doesn't.
not paying the child support that they are court mandated to pay.
I get it, but Dan, this has nothing to do with money. I've dealt with and I've helped people of all different tax brackets, if you're saying it like
Wait,
that, who are struggling with they have the basic needs of if they don't get the child support, they literally can't buy groceries for their
right.
kids, to people who don't really need the money and just want to piss off their ex, like and everywhere in between. I've dealt with them all. It actually communication has nothing to do with money. I understand that there are financial issues that are putting a strain on this, but I did not say that. So I'm not being an idiot about it. I didn't say it based
No, what
on
I'm not. All right,
finances.
what I'm saying, Scott, is there's a difference between my husband is a narcissist. I want to take him for all he's got because I want the boat. And my husband is a narcissist. My ex-husband is a narcissist. I want to take him for what I am deserved and what the court has mandated he pay, because otherwise I can't afford to work and care for my child, because I can't go to my shift and leave my 10-year-old child home alone. And so that was the advice that I gave in this particular situation I'm speaking about, is figure out an actual amount of money that it costs for a sitter for all of the hours that he doesn't show up, where he has agreed to through the courts. If he's agreed to be there at 2, from 2 to whenever he's there, calculate that. And then go to the court and don't say you want to renegotiate your deal. Just say you want him to pay you that amount. If he doesn't want to show up for his kid, he doesn't have to. You can't make someone be a good dad. But what you can do is enforce what the court has put down on him, and he would be in contempt. Now, to your point, it is too expensive. And oftentimes people don't want to go back to court or can't go back to court because it's too expensive to deal with it,
Right.
even if they get the money in the long run. But in this
Okay.
particular case, that's my advice to her, was just tell him he owes you for, if he doesn't want to be a good dad, let him pay for that.
Right. So can I, so you didn't think I was just talking about this supposed elitist crowd that I hang out with, which I don't know who you think I'm hanging out with, but I don't have
You're
a
wearing a
boat.
pocket square today.
You told me to do that. Anyway, I don't have a boat, and I don't really. I wasn't on a boat at all during the summer because none of my friends have boats. So besides the point, I do think that there's an in between. Okay, so I understand what you're saying, and I want to make sure that everyone who's listening doesn't think that I'm narrowly focused on just a certain tax bracket. For sure, there's a step in between though. What you're talking about, that you can threaten, and I mean threaten in the best way possible. Whereas what you were talking about with your ex at the beginning of the show of, telling the kids that she's going to sue you, or jokingly saying
Right.
that, you can actually bring that up and say, look, again, I'm saying that it goes back down to communication. You don't actually have to go get your attorney, because you got to get an attorney in order to bring it back to the court. And that costs money. They're not doing this stuff for free. So what you can say is, I don't want to have to get an attorney. Nobody, I'm telling you, nobody, no matter how angry they are with you, or no matter how upset they are with you, nobody wants to go back to court and waste money when they're not going to give you money in the first place. So
Yeah.
you can do that exercise, you can figure it out, and you can go and say, look, this is what you owe me. And if you don't give it to me, we're going to go back to court, and then it's just going to cost you even more, because that's the reality of what happens, is that it just costs you even more. And ultimately, in that situation you're describing, he's going to end up having to pay the court costs if he's delinquent. and he
Right.
has to go back to court, she's gonna have to shell out at the beginning to pay for her
Yes.
lawyers until it goes through the courts, but he ultimately will have to pay for it. And so that's all I'm saying, is that take it to that point pre-court, just to the edge of court, going back to court, and force the issue the best you can before the finality of everything is, if it doesn't work out that way, then you go back to court and you spend a lot of extra money to get little. And that's unfortunate, because the money should go to the kid.
Well, not only the money should go to the kid, the time should go to the kid. And so that's kind of the other
Right.
side of this, which is, someone has to work to maintain a lifestyle that they've provided for their child, and they can't go to their actual job because they have to be there with their child. It's difficult. In this day and age, a lot of people can work from home, but there are a lot of jobs, certainly we talk about this a lot, Scott, there
Plenty.
are a lot of jobs you can't work from home.
Plenty.
You can't be a
Yes.
nurse at home. I mean, you can, but
Yes.
you can't work in a
No.
restaurant at home. And so it's not always just about the money. If somebody is paying their child support or is paying alimony, but they're just not present, as you like to say, they're not present for their kid, that's a
No.
little bit more difficult to go to the court and say, my ex-husband just isn't showing up. Well, so that was my suggestion, is make it into a financial thing. Determine exactly how much that is costing you by missing that shift and by having to pay for a sitter to go to work and things like that. And then it becomes a little bit more tangible than he's just not showing up on time, because that's a very nebulous concept in some ways. People don't care if they're late. People don't care if they show up whenever they feel like it. But if you can monetize that, if you can quantify that, then
Right.
maybe that's a way to get around it.
Yeah, I think at the I think what ends up happening is people unfortunately put the kid in the middle of the hatred they have for their exes. And I think in this case, and
Right.
again, I don't know who these people are, and I'm sure everyone has their own unique situation. You're right. Sometimes it's not just about the money. Sometimes the money is that carrot that's being withheld just because you actually hate him or her, if that's what's happening. But the reality is, again, your kid is the one that gets affected, and our kids are in such a state where they're learning about so many things. They're sponges, they're soaking up all this stuff. Everything you do, they pay attention to.
Right.
And you start messing with that, you start messing with the time with them, and being present with your child. It I've said this before, it's one of the very few things that truly gets me a little fired up, because I just feel like the kids, just because you screwed up and your ex screwed up or whatever it may be, the kids need a fighting chance to have a real life,
It's
a
interesting
quote unquote
that
normal life.
Sure, and it's interesting I want to sort of end this on this, because I think this is going to be a conversation that you and I will have for a very long time on this show, and it's only going to sustain itself in a constructive way if we get everyone else involved. To your point, the next time we talk about this, there will be some sort of legal representation on here, whether it's ours or otherwise. But I want to hear from everybody else on this. Dan at divorcedadplaybook.com, Scott at divorcedadplaybook.com. If you want to just throw both of us on there, that's fine too, or we'll share it with each other if you only want to send it to one of us. But this does feel like we are being a little bit of an elitist conversation. This is two white guys from the Northeast talking about this, and it's certainly not the same for everyone in this. And that's why I want to open this up to our audience, because I think
Yep.
there's more to be said, probably not by us.
Yep, I would agree.
So let's have some
Not on the
fun.
elitist side, but I would agree with your sentiment.
You don't think that you're an elitist?
I don't at all think I'm an elitist. I work my ass off. I don't think I'm an elitist. I work hard 7 days a week, 18-hour days to do what I do, and have my kids, get what they get. I can see how
All
some
right,
people might view me with this sport coat on as an elitist, but again, you challenged me, so
that's fine. Your friends don't have any boats, but how many of them have yachts? Let's
move
get to
on.
something fun. Can you see this? Are you looking at what I'm looking at right now?
Oish. Yep.
Okay.
You know how much I
I'm
love
gonna.
politics.
No. Oh, well, all right. Whatever. I am going to show you several profiles, some of which have been in my feed on different sites, some of which have actually been people who have tried to match with me. And I'm going to ask you, and I think you'll like this. Which of these profiles would I least likely want to go out on a date with?
Okay, am I starting with this one? Because there's no way
This
you would
one.
go out. There's no way you would go out with this person.
Okay, this is a 35-year-old woman just seeing what's out there, dot, 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 to quote Stephen Colbert. Hashtag Trump 2020 is a conservative Christian, socially drinks, blah, blah, blah. They do all that stuff on Bumble. That's the first one.
Oh, I
Pretty
thought
sure that.
I thought you would go out with her because she was 5 foot.
What? That's not, I mean,
I'm just kidding. I understand. I know you're
she has
feeling.
kids and doesn't want any more. I mean, look, this is not a person who I have a lot in common with. Case in point with the T-shirt and whatnot. But let's just say, so leader in the clubhouse, right? We'll call that. Let's go to the next one. The next one is a 47-year-old. I'm going to read this out loud. This is also from Bumble. I'm about 2 more dates away from joining a convent. If you truly want off these apps and be in a relationship, you cannot talk to 25 women at a time. Focus, all caps, exclamation point. Doesn't necessarily need to be on me, just on someone. Parentheses, I'm going to be an online dating consultant in my next life, end parentheses. No HU or friends.
HU hookups?
I assume that's hookups, yeah.
Yeah. So on the first sentence that said I'm about 2 more dates away from joining a convent, I was like, oh, Dan will definitely love to jump on this one. And then she went through, you cannot talk to 25 women at a time. Focus. Yeah, that's not you. So nope.
That's not me, no. Well, so no on this one. But what's interesting about that is to get that mad and then say, it doesn't necessarily need to be on me. I'm just giving you all advice, dicks. Like that's a very defensive, look there. I don't care if you date me, just date one person.
Yeah, well, I would stay away from her, period.
But I'd still rather someone who's going to a convent than the polls. So second place on that one. Let's go to the third one.
Yes.
This is someone who matched with me, and this is, I can't even describe this. For people who aren't watching, again, that's why I don't know. Go to our YouTube, go to divorcedplaybook.com. You can watch along with us on this one. I don't know what part of the body that is. And again, this was the second photo on someone who tried to match with me, second or third photo. What is that?
I genuinely don't know. It almost looks like
an arm.
In a way, it looks like a shoulder, and that might be like a robe, like coming around her back, possibly. And she's like laying down, like
maybe. I thought it was an arm covering like her chest with a purple stripe that could be some sort of towel, and then the other arm on the other side. But how does this end up on a dating profile? My voice cracked.
Yeah,
so
I don't know. You're getting very passionate about this. I would also say this is a no. So
yeah,
this
is
all tough. No wonder why you have a wrap around your wrist.
Because I'm swiping left so much with my right hand. I'm going left.
All right. Well, so first of all, this next one, she's local, which is interesting. So
3 miles from me, local for me, not for you.
Right.
I am nothing special. Of this, I am sure. I believe this is a quote, by the way. Let me just say, I believe I'm quoting someone. I don't know who, but I don't think this person wrote this. I am nothing special. Of this, I am sure. I am a common man, obviously, with common thoughts, and I've led a common life. There are no monuments dedicated to me, and my name will soon be forgotten. But I've loved another with all my heart and soul, and to me, this has always been enough.
Yeah, so with this one, I'm going to say, just because this would be intriguing enough to you that you would actually try and go out with her. It's 3 miles away. It's interesting enough. I see she's also into running, movies, museum, tea, golf. I feel like you would actually try to go for this one. Yes?
Okay, well, hold on. Let's get to the last one, and then I'll decide which one as the least. I think I've given it away on this one. The last person, a 41-year-old, also 3 miles away.
Oh, interesting.
This was a while ago, so this is, I don't know if this person, hey you, exclamation point. First things first, I am saved and I love the Lord. Heart emojis on the eyes. I believe this is someone who matched with me. I'm not 100% sure. I am fun, outgoing, down-to-earth Jersey girl. No children, but have 3 amazing godchildren. I did that because it was in all caps. That's how they pronounce that, right? I love music, dancing, movies, and attending an array of events. Love to travel, have my passport, and need more stamps. Island emoji. Buyer by profession, hairstylist by trade. I am in no way interested in one-night stands, hooking up, or anything outside of meeting new people and getting to know someone better. Still interested? Let's chat.
You're not interested.
I am not interested.
For so many reasons.
Well,
I
I mean,
mean, and
look,
possibly none bigger than actually her proud Jersey girlness.
yeah, that's the biggest concern in this. That I'm a down to earth Jersey girl is accent central. Also, for lack of, and I do this all the time, but like, she's from Gloucester Township, so there's definitely an accent involved in this. I'm sorry for people who live in
There's
South Jersey who are cackling right now.
yeah,
There's definitely a South Jersey situation going on here. I
yeah.
I don't mind that people have different religions than me. I've never actually. This is like a running gag with anyone who I match online with who's Jewish. I've never actually dated a Jewish woman in my entire life,
No, I
and
think the no
so
children. I think the no children thing is a bigger issue for anyone who has children.
I just think someone who's going to put in their profile, "I am saved and love the Lord," that's a very deep religious statement that probably doesn't connect with me, because if you are saved, that means I'm going to whatever you consider hell and blah blah blah. Still,
Yeah,
okay. So of
gotcha.
all of those, Trump 2020, all whatever the other ones were about, it doesn't have to be me, but it better not be 24 women. Which of these people do you think that I would least want to go out with? And I think you probably know what my answer would be.
I I mean, this one has to be pretty darn close, but I would say the Trump 2021.
No. See, here's the thing about this guy. I would rather go out with somebody who is so pro-Trump that I can have what I would
Wait, you
attempt to
picked the
be
one with the quote that
a
was interesting
substantive
and like,
conversation with. The person on this list, it
all
was a
right.
trick the whole time. The person on this list I would least like to go out with is the person 3 miles away. I actually saw this profile this morning. The "I am nothing special of this, I am sure." Right there. If you were to try to describe the exact opposite of my worldview of how I am, my core beliefs to therapy you or whatever I would say.
Yeah, you're
My
thinking too much about this, but yeah.
no,
It's got to
I
be
am
a
not.
quote. I don't know who is a quote from. It's got to
I
be a
don't
quote from
care if
somebody
it's a
that
quote. You have one paragraph to show yourself to the world. And this woman, again, not my style. I have nothing against this woman. But if you are going to put in your dating profile, "I am nothing special of this, I am sure. I am a common man with common thoughts. I've led a common life." The whole point is, I'm not anything special. But what I did was I found the person who I can be special to. That's the quote, right? I'm gisting it, but that's the quote. I am not important to the world, but if I am important to you, that's enough. That gives me the shakes. I cannot handle that. And again, we mentioned this already. I have issues. I
out
have
of all
borderline
those
personality.
profile
I,
uh, out of all
guys,
those
this
profiles, this one
scares the
gives you
shit out of me.
this one gave you the shakes out of all those other ones.
Yeah, because if somebody is unabashedly
Yikes.
Trump, whatever, I disagree with them fundamentally. I may even not think they're very intelligent, but that's a conversation that I have passion about. That's something, whatever. That's something that I feel like, and we'll stop the share right now. I feel like that's something that is of the public forum that we can have that discussion. It may not go well for me, but at least I would enjoy having that. To go to for me to have matched with someone theoretically who finds themselves uniquely ununique, unspecial in every way, is horrifying. The whole idea, the entire thing that I have put into my children's brains is be yourself, stand out, make an impact in the world, do something that will get you not necessarily noticed, but will get you believed in, that will get you, that will create a level of importance, will change dialogue. How you can put on your dating profile, "You know what, I'm just boring, I'm nothing, I don't matter, but I'd like to matter to you." It scares the Jesus out of me. And that's even worse than the Jesus lady.
And it's worse than the half naked woman that was therapy at therapist or therapist at therapy.
Yeah, I don't know what that part of the body is, and I'm not unsure. I don't want to find out. At least, whatever. This is this for people who are out there who are listening to this. This is my nightmare.
Yeah. So for the benefit of our audience,
Yes.
I just have to say it's probably not everyone's nightmare. I don't want to trigger you anymore. So perhaps you can just forward that to me and I'll look up who the quote's from, because I'm just keenly interested in who that quote is from, and maybe it has some larger meaning. and maybe she's actually a brilliant person and just left off like who the quote is from, but that's okay.
The quote
we
is
can finish
from
that.
Nicholas Sparks. Literally took me 8 seconds to find that out while you were talking. Nicholas Sparks is the quote. I understand it's a quote. I'm not saying it's not. What I'm saying is if you're allowing this woman is so unremarkable that she is allowing someone else to speak for her. She can't even speak for herself. She is so
Yes.
not. Oh.
Okay. So oh boy. So I'm gonna say that none of those are gonna be were matches for you.
They're
Thus,
all
like, once
no's.
again, the thumb is clearly hurting.
If I don't know if my therapist is watching us on this and laughing, but she is watching this and laughing because this has been a 2.5-year struggle for me. And honestly, like, to go deep into my brain for a minute, this is my nightmare. This is what happened to me when you go from a site that you're, have 500,000 reads to 500,000 reads. It screws with you. It ruins your brain. And I couldn't handle that. And again, I am working very hard to not care about that stuff, but I can't not care about it. And that goes to our last point. And this is where that wasn't where you can call me an idiot. This is probably where you can call me an idiot. What do I do when I know the thoughts in my head are, I'm not putting a value on it and saying wrong, are problematic to living a healthy and stress-free lifestyle? What do I do when I know that when I'm doing a supercut of all the times you've called me an idiot on the show, so we can send it around to people and say, like, what's your show about? Well, it's about Scott calling me an idiot and a moron, and then we talk about my brain. That's pretty much the show. That I get somewhat triggered by the fact that I threw in there the breaking news, my ex is dating, and I'm thinking about that last night when I dropped the kids off, and I'm thinking to myself, like, I care about her and I want her to be happy, and I know that this shouldn't bother me. And I know that I shouldn't, like, stalk her Facebook page to see if somebody recently friended her, or, try and see if Zoe has the, and which I didn't do, but I thought about it, the app for the camera on the house, the doorbell camera, just sneak
Nice.
Zoe's phone to see if she has, to see, like, what kind of car this guy drives, if he's been to the house, how often he's there. I'm not going to do that. And I'm not the only one who thinks like this. I'm not.
No,
But yesterday was, God.
I think everyone who's listening has some form of what you're saying. I think you're an extremist. So
Yes.
look, just to be clear, that last portion that hurt your thumb and you were swiping on all those women, you're an idiot. You're not an idiot because the way you're thinking with this. I
just need to be ambidextrous. I'm not an idiot. No, look.
Yeah,
The reason I bring this up,
I mean, that's that was
silly. Yes, I know.
Yeah, so it's silly. I think this, though, I think those feelings and those thoughts, and I'm sure lots of people appreciate the fact that you share your thoughts with them throughout this podcast. I think a lot of people think the way you do. I think there's been times where I think the way you do. The worst thing for a single parent, and we're clearly even more focused on the dads out there. The worst thing for single dad is to be in a place where you are transitioning your children back to your ex and you don't have plans. It is the worst space to be in as an individual, and in this case, we'll say as a father,
Yes.
to not have your kids have nothing to do, because your mind is a dangerous thing. And hopefully, as we continue to grow our audience and we have forums and everything that we're going to be doing, you will see that this community, you are not alone. You know this, Dan, and everyone who's listening, you're not alone. There are lots of people who think just like you, and we want to be a safe place for you to go. So instead of you thinking like you just described, like, how do I break into the doorbell camera, of my old house to see who my ex is doing, or how do I stalk Facebook or whatever it is, those are all terrible ideas. That's why you're sharing them. They're terrible ideas. It's bad for your mental state, and it's bad for everyone's mental state who's listening. If that's what you do on your time off, find a friend, go out to get some coffee with somebody, go out for a drink, go out on a date, go swipe some dating sites, like whatever you got to
Okay.
do to not think about your ex is way more healthy.
So actually, it's funny. I'm a little distracted because my ex is texting me something about the kids. Um, we just passed yesterday, actually, the 1 year anniversary of the day that I got separated. And the separation was very brief. I believe we've talked about this on the show. I think it was uh, in bad faith. The we signed divorce papers by early January. We got separated in mid-October, and that was basically admitted to me during marriage counseling that she only did that because she wanted to get through the holidays and didn't want to ruin the kids' holidays. So she strung me along basically for 4 or 5 months. We get along great now because I feel no reason not to. I was hurt. I am still hurt by that, but it doesn't mean I don't love her, and it doesn't mean I'm not going to treat her with the respect that I wish I was treating her with the entire time we were married. Having said that, it was a very difficult day for me leading up to it, and certainly now in the aftermath of it. I did schedule a lunch with someone new last week. I happened to schedule on Monday, not even remembering that Monday was like the anniversary of the 1 year. So I was like, probably better for me not to go on a date that day, but I had already scheduled it. It was with the woman who looked like a young Madonna. For those, for you would. I'm not putting a picture up, but you know.
Yes.
And Sunday we were texting back and forth in the morning, joking around, and I asked at one point, like, "Hey, what time do you want to meet? I can meet after 1. I have my kids until noon. What time do you have until?" Because I knew that you and I had a lot of work to do, and I knew that I had other things that I was trying to get accomplished on Monday, but I was going to take a big chunk of my afternoon out, and I was going to go drive to Pennsylvania to have lunch with this woman. And she wrote me back and was like, "Well, you sound kind of desperate. Chill out." And I'm like, "I'm very chill. I'm just trying to logistically figure out my day. Like, just give me a heads up." And she wrote back, "I'd like to cancel my Suburban." To which I wrote back, "Do you think I'm your Uber? What do you mean cancel your Suburban?" And I think she meant cancel my subscription because I typed in Suburban and subscription was one of the other words. So I think she was probably drinking during the Eagles game or whatever and wrote that. And then I never heard from her again. This is now the third week in a row that someone who I had existing plans with within a 10 to 24-hour span has flat ghosted me. And this was already a traumatic and not traumatic, but a difficult day for me emotionally. And then for this to happen again, Scott, all I did was ask, "What time do you have until?" And that is what triggered this woman to not only stop texting me, but she blocked my number because it goes right to voicemail. She unmatched me on Bumble. What the hell is going on?
You're in the world of online dating. That's what's going on. And by the way, and of course I'm sorry that that happened on a day. I'm sure she did not
I did not
care.
tell her. She did not know or care.
She did not know. She wouldn't have cared. You know, people, unfortunately, as they do this, it's very gamified, Dan. Like online dating and these apps are extremely gamified. It's why you have a sore thumb. They're extremely gamified. You are doing the same thing to others too, unfortunately. It
No, I am
just
not.
hurts.
I am not. I am not
I think
making
I
actual
think
plans with someone without I've canceled on people, but you cancel
right,
on
but you're
me.
leading people right. This took it to another degree where you had plans and they were canceled, and then they just spaced out.
Like
By the way,
we had a start time. I mean, it's not like we were like, "Hey, let's hang out this weekend. Let's hang out at 1 on Monday."
look, I look at it as time well spent that she canceled on you because it would have been another terrible date and you would have gone wasted some money and it would have ended poorly and you would have been feeling worse. I'd rather know before and I'd rather them bail on you before than you get into the date and realize like, oh, this was not who I thought it was, or they changed, or whatever it may be. They're saving. I know it hurts. I know it's painful. I know it's annoying, but they're saving you additional pain by ghosting you prior to you actually going out with them.
Or, and I understand your point and I appreciate the pep talk on this, or I feel like I am an excellent first date because I can talk about a lot of topics, because I am very present with these conversations, because I'm not checking my phone to see who else is matching with me. And I actually care about having a conversation with the woman who's in front of me, that I feel like I probably would have had a very good time with this woman because we've been texting for weeks to set this up. And now this happened. I just, and this goes back to the whole thing from the last segment where I'm very upset about things. this is my terror dome, to be unremarkable, to be so to matter so little in someone's life that they don't even have the respect to send you a note and say, you know what, I changed my mind, I don't want to hang out.
Yeah, people
Just not
don't
even
do
that.
that. People don't
But
do that.
so people don't
You
be
like.
human.
No,
Like, it's
it's
a
not being
human thing. It's not about
human.
dating. It's a human
It
response. I
it's
am going to screw you over and ruin your day. I'm at least going to give you the respect to tell you.
No, come on, dude. There was we just had a whole conversation about whether people are narcissists or have narcissistic behavior. Again, a lot of people, men and women, both have narcissistic behavior. In this case, I don't know her and I don't know what was going through her mind, but I could bet because I've been there too, and I in no way want to harm anyone. But for me, whenever I go back into the dating pool of online dating, I'm only looking for one. I'm not looking to hook up with a bunch of people. I'm looking for one. I'm looking for the next person that I can make, my girlfriend. And that's how I look at it. But in order to find one, you have to be chatting with many. And for better or worse, once I do find one that I really want to focus on, I do end up just cutting other people off. And I don't think I go through all of those profiles and say, hey, I know we're having a
That's
good
different.
conversation. Sorry, like I wish you the best, but I'm gonna try it out this person. And I mean to do that. I don't mean to hurt anybody, but at the same time, you can't go back and talk to people.
That's
But it's
different.
not different. It's not different because they might be thinking just like you. They might concoct in their head. I understand you had plans. Hold on one second. I understand you had plans. However, I've been on the receiving end of these women who have been in terrible relationships, who read my profile when I have one out there that is very good, like yours, well written, very communicative, and they like me, not me, but my profile me, and
Right.
they believe they can see a future with that. And I know this is frustrating for you, but you have to realize that people, both women and men on dating sites, they are juggling multiple people until they find the person they want to be with now, today, and hopefully into the future. And in this
That's happened
case,
to me
you don't know
several
what the deal
times.
is.
Hold on.
And this
That's
happened
happened
to
to
you
me.
again. This happened to you again
No, no,
yesterday.
no, no, no. That's different. And that actually happened to me twice in the last couple of days, where somebody reached out, hey, we haven't talked in a while. And then this one woman was like, oh, I canceled my account. And I said, what happened or whatever. She had a picture on her Instagram. I'm like, who's this? And she's like, oh, that was the guy I was dating for last month. They go, oh, well, that explains why you canceled your account. That's fine. I don't care if you're just I talk to like 100 people I've matched with. You don't stay in touch with all of them, and I get that. But if someone were to ever write me back and be like, hey, where'd you go? To me, that's a flag that, like, you know what? Don't be an asshole. Just write the person back and be like, sorry, I've been really busy. I met someone else. And I've done that. People said, like, hey, where'd you go? I said, I just thought our conversation dissipated. Like, one person, I was like, honestly, I couldn't think of anything to say. And so I was hoping you would say something, and then you didn't. And I figured we just kind of grew, just it didn't work. And she was like, oh, all right, well, fair point. If someone reaches back out to you and then you don't respond again, that's ghosting. If you just fall apart, or you like somebody else and never go back, that's not ghosting. That's the online dating thing. But when you have
I
a
think it's a
plan,
fine line.
when at
It's a fine
3:30 p.m.
line.
you say I'll see you at 7, and then you never show up or talk to them again, that's different than this. And that's what
I think
happens to me.
it wasn't to her. Look, I'm not saying it was easy. I'm not saying that she was right. I'm just saying that mentally it was different to her than it was to you. And either she had somebody else that she could do something better with, or she got spooked, or whatever. Maybe you yourself have said you are a great first date and probably not a good second or whatever it may be. Correct?
Correct.
So
I'm an
if
excellent
sometimes if
first
you
date. I'm a pretty good
communicate.
second date. After that, it falls apart.
Right. So perhaps if you're communicating too much, like I know I've put you down this path of like making sure you check these people out and talk to them and interact with them prior to going out on a date so you don't waste your time and money by going out on dates that could be terrible. In this
Right.
case, potentially you were too engaged with her and she didn't like it. So she felt like she was on like the second going to a third date and decided that your idea of the first date in person was to her the second or third where it falls apart.
What I have learned in this particular situation, and I actually said this to someone yesterday, so it's probably the case when you bring it up to me after I've already understood it myself. I don't know if you've noticed this, guy, but I'm a rather intense person. I have a freneticism, as the word I used yesterday, to my personality. And I think that does come across to people who I don't know very well as intense. I've had a long issue of trying to balance between being assertive and being aggressive, and that's pretty much what led to the end of my marriage. Is I felt like I was being assertive, and I was apparently being overly aggressive and cantankerous, which is a bad combination when you love someone. In this case, when I get excited, I get excited. I'm always on my devices. I'm on 18 hours a day. So for me, like texting somebody 3 times a day is like not a big deal. For some people, it's like, whoa, you texted me 3 times in 3 days? Slow down there, killer. And I'm like, what are you talking? It's 2020. We text each other all the time. I'm never not with my phone in my hand. Thumb notwithstanding. So I get that I have an intensity that maybe they're not accustomed to. And I want to say, well, then I should back off on that. My therapist would say, don't fake it just to meet someone. Be yourself. If this person can't handle you, then you'd rather know now. And so I get it. It's just incredibly frustrating. And that's all I have. I have nothing funny to say at the end of this. Like, there's no funny joke, haha, at the end of this. It just sucks.
It's not funny, but I think that your sensitivity was heightened because of the complexity of your day that she, was unaware of. And so I think that the fact that it was a tough day for you and this happened created a more impassioned response.
Yeah. All right. I mean, sure.
It did.
It's just,
it wasn't a question. That was more of a statement.
I have a lot of fun meeting people. I've developed some really deep friendships. I've developed some quick but fiery relationships in the last however many 8 months or whatever. So I've been doing this. But I know why people stop doing it. I figured now I understand. It sucks. Right. You go in ebbs and flows. I was on a hot streak a couple weeks ago trying to juggle a bunch of people. Now I can't get anybody to, even write me back sometime. It's just, this is really difficult. And
Yeah. Well, so to end this on is positive of a note as we possibly can. We have a lot of men and women listening, and for all of the women who are single and looking for somebody who will not be dull or boring,
oh my God,
feel free to email Dan at divorcedadplaybook.com.
That was the Jewishest mother comment. He's such a good boy. He's so nice. He can cook.
I mean,
oh my God, you're gonna love him.
I would imagine there are lots of people who are listening or watching.
He does voices. He's very good at the voices. He's a funny boy.
You can't say you're funny and think. Didn't you say that last time? You said you can't say we're whatever.
I didn't say I'm funny. You were saying it, Grandma. He'll treat you right. He's a great first date. He says it. You gotta. Yes. He's great. A good listener.
You're welcome.
Last word. What do you got?
Kids first.